Good morning. Today is Tuesday, May 26th, 2020. My name is Ricardo Sandoval, and this is the results video for laboratory number 3, Bacterial Enumeration, Dilutions, and Plate Counts. We are in my home office today, as this is my incubation location. You can't see this, but this kind of mirror here, this is a closet where I've incubated my specimens for the past 2.5 days for this lab. So, kind of to recall, 2.5 days ago, what I did is I had six petri dishes that I poured with nutrient agar and allowed to cool. And then I basically made a culture, if you will, by brewing 1/4 teaspoon of yeast into 2 tablespoons of warm water. Once that culture was done, I had the 6 petri dishes and then the 6 test tubes. And in the 6 test tubes, I added 2.25 milliliters or 2 1/4 milliliter of water. Unfortunately, just regular water, tap water, as I did not have access to distilled water, given the whole pandemic situation. So 2.25 milliliters of water went into each of those 6 test tubes, and then I created a master sample by pipetting 0.25 milliliters of yeast from just plain old yeast that I had brewed into the first test tube, and then from that test tube I mixed it well by pipetting the solution up and down about 3 times, and then I took 2.25 mils from test tube 1, put it into not 2.25, but 0.25 mils from test tube 1 to test tube 2, mixed it. 0.25 mils from test tube 2 to test tube 3, mixed it. 0.25 mils from test tube 3 into test tube 4, and so on to all 6 test tubes to create dilutions, so that the first test tube, I guess, had the strongest concentration of the yeast water mixture, while the 6th test tube was the most dilute, wherein it had the lowest concentration of yeast and water. Given that by the time I reached that 6th test tube, the amount of yeast was the least, just because of how the dilution worked. So once those dilutions were made, I then pipetted 4 drops from each test tube into the 6 petri dishes. So I had labeled, or I did label, the six petri dishes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I pipetted basically from test tube 1, 4 drops into petri dish 1, from test tube 2, 4 drops into dish 2, from test tube 3, 4 drops into test tube into dish 3, and so on. So the goal of this lab is to count what's called CFUs per mil, or colony forming units per milliliter. So the milliliter, we know it's 0.25 because that's how much solution I added into each dish. And a colony forming unit, again, it's looking to see if there's viable bacteria. So what we're looking to see here, once I start showing you each of the 6 dishes, is to see whether or not a viable amount, which is considered 30 to 300 CFUs on the dish, did develop. And what we're looking for here are basically little, small, round circles, very similar to cockeye, but a bit smaller, to see if it developed. My expectations are, of course, that dish 1, which had the highest concentration of yeast to water, has those 30 to 300 CFUs, but we'll see as I go through showing you all 6 dishes. Again, I did have to incubate these dishes for 2.5 days, given that after 2 days I saw nothing, and then kind of towards the latter end of like 2 days and a couple of hours, I started seeing some growth, so I decided to allow it to go for a total of 2.5 days. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just show you this sign really quick about the lab that we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to start with dish number 1. So this is dish 1. And again, I mean, there's definitely some growth here. And if I flip it around, you can kind of see, I mean, up here, sorry, maybe a couple of CFUs. But again, we're looking for 30 to 300. And I'm not sure that, I mean, obviously, I mean, I don't see 30 to 300 little pinpoints on this dish. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe on the back, I don't know. Maybe counting, you know, there's a few here, but I don't see anywhere near 30, so I don't think this would be a viable sample. Okay, so dish number 2, again, looks a bit similar to dish 1. Some very mild growth up here. Let me just kind of flip this around here. So, I mean, you can see some up here, but, you know, not very much happening in this dish, which is, again, surprising. This is dish number 3, which does look quite busy here. You can see quite a bit of growth up here and all along the rim of the dish. So this actually might be a good viable CFU count. I mean, I'm sure there's at least 30 here, just they're all so clustered at the top of the dish and kind of behind my number 10. But this actually might be my first really good one. So that was number 3. So this is number 4. And not very much going on here. I mean, it looks like 2 here, 1 here, 1 here. So this is 4. Other than that, there's nothing. So this would be too few to count, or not a viable sample here, unfortunately. And then this is my dish 5. And again, here, I mean, dish 5 and dish 6, so I'm going to show you here, we're getting very dilute. Where there might be pretty much more water than anything happening. And as you can see, there's really no growth whatsoever happening in here. And then lastly, dish number 6, which don't know if you can see here. Well, you can. I mean, there's a bit of cloudiness right at the bottom of the dish where I have my finger up. So that might be maybe 1 or 2 colony form units per mil. But, you know, not much else happening here. Now, so as far as any challenges I had in this lab, I mean, the big thing was I didn't have distilled water. I had to use tap water, and of course, distilled water it's very pure water, which most likely would have worked much better for this experiment, and they have given me much better results, as all of the minerals, bacteria, whatever's in there, are burned off, evaporated off. But I still did get some pretty decent results. So again, this was the results video for Laboratory 3, Bacterial Enumeration, Dilutions, and Plate Counts. Thank you for watching.